All right, folks, we'll go to our second story. A former New Jersey police chief with a history of blatant racism has been charged with civil rights and federal hate crimes. Folks, this is again, another one of those stunning stories that we have to deal with. Frank Nucera Jr., the former chief of police in Bordentown Township, New Jersey, was arrested and charged with civil rights and federal hate crimes on Monday following a 2016 incident in which he slammed a handcuffed black teen's head into a door jamb.
I think the allegation is clear. Chief Nucera harbored an intense, senseless, irrational, and bigoted view towards African Americans. On that day, he came into contact with a prisoner. That prisoner was in custody. That prisoner was restrained. They were handcuffed. They were not an immediate threat to anybody in the community. They were not an immediate threat to any police officer. And Chief Nucera, former Chief Nucera, chose to assault that person for no reason other than what he was driven by, at least in part, by his racial hatred.
Nucera mysteriously retired in January amid rumors he was under criminal investigation. The criminal complaint against him says he had a blatant history of racism and used racial slurs. According to the complaint in 2015, while talking to an officer about an African-American who allegedly slashed the tires of a police vehicle, Nucera said, "I wish that nigga would come back from Trenton and give me a reason to put my hands on him. I'm tired of them. These niggers are like ISIS. They have no value. They should line them all up and mow them down. I like to be on the firing squad. I could do it." He also used police dogs to intimidate African Americans, bringing them to high school basketball games when his department was providing security. Joining us via FaceTime from Newark, New Jersey is DeLacy Davis, an East Orange, New Jersey police sergeant and founder of Black Cops Against Police Brutality. Now, DeLacy, here's what's interesting. You won't see folks like David, you won't see, like, of course, the sheriff out of Milwaukee County, who loves running his mouth on David Clark, running his mouth on Fox News about cops like this. You won't hear any of these Blue Lives Matter people say anything about this police officer, but this is what black folks have been talking about for years. This is what Black Lives Matter is going after, and you will never hear Jeff Sessions or Donald Trump or Mike Pence say anything about this kind of cop. And this is what black folks always been talking about.
Absolutely. First, let me just correct. I'm retired from East Orange 20 years. But this is why we started Black Cops Against Police Brutality and a part of the National Coalition of Law Enforcement Officers for Justice, Reform, and Accountability. This is rampant in law enforcement. While some of my colleagues do not want to acknowledge that this is the behavior and the attitude of many of our counterparts in law enforcement, I've always said, and you've heard me say, Roland, that organizational culture of law enforcement is white male-dominated, racist, sexist, homophobic, and then you might find the good cops. What frightens me in this matter is that he's got 34 years of service. His son is still a sergeant on that police force. I commend the officer who recorded him secretly for 1 year, but he's been there 34 years. Where is everyone?
So imagine what he had been doing all of these years.
Absolutely, destroying lives. And this is why it's important and incumbent upon us to continue to speak up. This is why what Kaepernick started in the NFL is important. This is why it's critical that black people and people of goodwill and consciousness all across this country speak up and speak out, because it's prevalent. It's ingrained. I mean, this is Jim Crow all over again. And with number 45, dog whistling to everyone out there, folks believe now it's time to see how outrageous can I be while under the color of this uniform and this badge, because I'm going to be protected at the highest levels of government.
And I'm quite sure you have the people who will say, oh, this is an isolated incident. This is the guy who was the police chief. He was over this department.
Absolutely. It's an isolated incident because we caught it on audio recordings. If it wasn't caught, then they'd say it didn't happen at all. These are just folks crying wolf. But the fact that you have the unmitigated gall to want to line up African Americans and gun them down and articulate that. The greater concern is all the people that he's trained who've come along, and we know that of the vast majority of these 18,000 police departments in this country, most of them are small little departments like that one, and that's a concern because generally, even when they're charged with something, not in this case, but usually when they're charged, they leave one little department and take their venom to another one.
All right, DeLacy Davis, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Roland.
I want to quickly go to my panel here. Scott, again, federal hate crime charges. Man, I'm trying to understand why New Jersey is not pursuing charges against its police chief for his actions.
Well, they certainly ought to, and they ought to go back over 34 years. They can put the resources behind it, find any number of incidents, and then prosecute this individual. Now, there'll be a statute of limitations, but in most jurisdictions, you can go back 5 years. They need to put the federal and state resources behind it in order to bring justice to those individuals who I'm sure he has abused.
Ralph?
No, I would agree. This opens the Pandora's box for almost every arrest that has been made in this township over the past, whatever the statute of limitations is. And this is going to cost New Jersey a whole lot of money.
And it should. And India, again, I just love all of these folks who say, oh, leave the cops alone.
Listen.
They're doing a great job. Nothing wrong with them.
Listen, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. And I think the thing I'd like to address is the systemic issues here. So I was speaking to a community activist from Cincinnati yesterday, as a matter of fact, and one of the concerns they have is about what happens with some of the, they did a collaborative agreement between the community and the police in that city. And one of the things they're starting to see is indications after Sessions has come into play that that's not going to be enforced and that the police are kind of starting to slip away from that. So what I think we need to focus on are the kinds of things that could help support this systemically. And we're starting to see the erosion of that too now.
Weekdays on TV One.
I will never lie to you.
Oh, my God.
Roland Martin.
He doesn't want to talk to us. He wants to ignore us.
Uncensored.
Hell no.
That ain't gonna cut it, boo.
Unapologetic.
No, that is fundamentally false. You are wrong.
Unfiltered.
He wants an America where we all look alike. He ain't talking about black people.
Unrelenting.
You better go work out, because you got a fight on your hands.
NewsOne Now with Roland Martin. Weekdays at 7 a.m. on TV One.